I'm trying to log in here. I don't see the link, but anyhow, we have
well, before we start, I actually have to bring you guys up to speed on an issue that happened last week. At approximately 11 a.m. on Tuesday, February 13th, it was reported to me that a significant cyber attack occurred on the city's central computer network management infrastructure. It was a very rare, aggressive form of the Emotet virus, which has affected our core management systems. The result is that it has affected systems across all city departments. The virus has an intelligence that's actually built into it that allows it to spread across various systems and evade any sort of antivirus software that we have. As a precaution, we have restricted access to financial and law enforcement agencies and have alerted the appropriate authorities regarding this virus and what's happening. So our financial systems cannot tap into banks and things of that nature. The police cannot use other types of data with state police and other agencies because of the virus that's in our system. It is contained, but it is impacting all of our Windows-based systems. So it's a virus that goes after Windows and Windows-based systems. And thus, systems like our camera network, our traffic signalization system, all which operate on Windows-based systems, might be compromised if we don't do something to effectuate the removal and remediation of this virus immediately. It's beyond the capacity of our staff to contain and fix the problem without engaging external assistance, and because of that, I deem it an emergency. I have instructed IT to engage Microsoft Incident Response Team, which has been working on site with our IT staff to contain the infection and rebuild our computer foundation. The cost of this emergency response is around $185,000. The virus itself, as I said, is self-replicating. It has intelligence built into it. And what it does, it prevents us from actually, as staff, from logging in to various types of systems and software. So it'll search out people's passwords, codes, and things of that nature, and actually self-propagate itself throughout the system, feeding back to whatever, whether it's internal virus or external virus, these codes. Microsoft has advised me that the recovery phase will cost about $700,000 to $800,000 to clean this virus and repair our systems and prevent it from happening again. There's no evidence at this time to believe that anyone's personal information contained in the city system has been compromised. I want to make that clear, especially to the media that is here today. This is an internal virus. It will not impact members of the general public, especially those who visit our website. That being said, people should use caution if they receive an unanticipated email from the city of Allentown staff or the city of Allentown or from any other sender from the city of Allentown, and should scrutinize those emails carefully before clicking on any links or opening any attachments. I do have a representative here from the Microsoft Emergency Response Team, as well as Matt Liebert, our IT director, is here, and we will answer any questions that you have on this issue. But it's going to be an incredibly costly fix for us that we will have to figure out how to basically come up with $1 million to fix this problem.
Wow. All right, thank you. I know there are some questions up here. We'll start with council and start down on the left. Court, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Mayor. Some of the questions I have were addressed with that, but I do have some more. And I just would start with saying that these are just in a random order, so I might double back a little bit. But so you said that we've notified the appropriate government agencies, but my question is, when this happened last week, did we notify any other government agencies that we might have a link to the system?
We cut off our access. That's what I'm talking about. We cut off access to the system immediately.
Okay.
So,
and that also went with
us. We can't communicate with banks on our accounts. We don't have information. Let's say, as President McClain would realize, information, and most of you realize actually, Councilman Zucco and Councilman Hendricks, to put to state police data or other data for ISIS and other things of that nature.
Okay. And then also, so at this time, we're not concerned that any data has been breached that could concern any of our employees, any citizens, any businesses that do business with the city. To the best of our ability, we don't think that's happening.
I will ask the Microsoft representative or Matt to address that. Matt, you want to address that?
That's correct. Let me pull this out here, I'll just hold it, right? No reason to believe anything has left the building.
Okay.
We just have a bad infection,
Mhm.
and we did a lot of tests to understand our infection, and we're basically got these guys here beginning to treat us. Some of it's immediate treatment, some of it's going to be over the next, 6 to 8 weeks. Some of it's over the next couple of years.
Okay.
So what it does, it actually attacks our core infrastructure, our architecture of our databases.
Okay. Maybe, Matt, you could just give us a quick rundown of the critical business systems that the city uses and which ones were attacked, which ones weren't attacked?
They're all under attack. I mean, the systems aren't under attack, okay? Maybe I shouldn't say it that way.
Mhm.
It's really about theft of credentials so that information could be harvested. And that's why I said to the mayor about email attacks is kind of the primary thing. But, it's highly unusual we're up here talking about this because I know the chief is not happy that we're having a public discussion because this is an ongoing investigation. But since you've taken the mayor's memo and somehow that's gotten out there, you can all look up what the virus is and what it does. I am not a cyber expert, so I'm not going to claim to be, but it's about theft of credentials and information, and we have no reason to believe that any information has left the building or credentials at this point. But it has propagated, and we have it under control.
As long as you're up here, my question would be, two questions actually. What is our disaster recovery plan for you, and also what's our backup plan?
Well, let me start by this. What we're doing right now is basically a triage, okay? The 185,000 stopping the bleeding, right? So that the virus doesn't spread anymore. The rest of the money will actually be to treat the problem and eliminate the tumor, okay, as in the system. And so, right now, they basically, correct me if I'm wrong, just jump in, is basically, stop the bleeding, and we're in the triage mode, but we have not gotten to the corrective phase yet.
And I thank you for that, Mayor, but what I was actually asking is, what are the plans that we currently have in place, that you had in place prior to this event, to deal with data backup, to deal with any type of disaster issues where, God forbid, a sinkhole would open up under City Hall, or there's a fire. We had the flood issue on the 5th floor. If you'd have a flood in the area where you have your servers contained, what's the disaster plan to deal with those type of things? I'm basically just trying to figure out, what do we have in place first?
Disaster plan, disaster recovery plan, okay? But this virus, as I said, is unique, okay? It bypasses any of our antiviral firewalls. And so it actually, unlike just a virus, okay, that would attack and sort of spread around like a cold, okay? This virus is more like a cancer, okay? It actually has intelligence, and it will self-replicate itself and change in the system itself. And so it bypasses and evades any of our antiviral software or firewalls that we have. So even though we had extensive systems set up to prevent cyber attacks, okay, we still are vulnerable on many different levels, quite honestly.
And that's why I'm asking this question. Very simple. What's our data backup plan? How often do we back up our data?
We back up frequently, but I'm not going to disclose the details of that because this is an ongoing investigation.
And I understand that, Matt, but I think there's a lot of people, since this did get out, and should honestly be in the public eye, because we're dealing with people's private information, we're dealing with employees' private information. So if there's a problem, we shouldn't try to hide that, especially when we're talking about $800,000.
Councilman, we've already said to you, it has not released any data internally. Okay?
And Mr. Mayor, I respect that, but I'm saying that when there's the potential, we should always be straightforward with people.
But we are.
And I understand that, that's why I'm asking these questions, Mr. Mayor.
listen, okay, fine. You want to have this discussion in the public? We'll have it. We don't know if it's an attack that's continuously occurring from the outside, coming in as a hacker, or if it's a virus that's embedded in our system. Now that that's said, Mr. Robinson, if they are a hacker, they know that we know this, right? So, we want to try to contain this. We want to actually stop this hemorrhaging, and we want to make sure that we start eliminating this virus systematically through our system.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Liebert, your answer is that you won't answer that question. Just
It's
trying
an
to clarify.
I have no comment, I'm not going
That's
to
fine.
answer it this time.
That's fine. I just wanted to ask the question.
And we're
I want
not
to make I'll make one recommendation right now, and that's, as I've said to this body before in the past, is there really is no connection to IT and all these things you want me to answer to. I think over the coming months that it would be appropriate for you to formulate some questions so that, we can communicate that in a secure way. But to comment with details at this point is just not appropriate.
And we can't get into all the details, Councilman, on how we're going to eradicate the virus or where we're going to attack it, because we don't know if it's an external attack or an internal virus that's embedded in our system.
Basically, what I was trying to determine is, do we have a piece of data, all of our data, that's secure? A backup that we have so that we do know that we can move forward once we rebuild this. That is the question I'm trying to get answered.
The answer to that is yes,
Thank you.
and I want you to know that it's not ransomware. This could be worse.
Okay.
But what we're discussing here is absolutely putting the city at risk. And, shame on us for doing a disservice to our intelligence community and all the people that are working on the problem.
Okay, well, let me jump in here then. I mean, Mr. Robinson is trying to ask some questions that I think council is interested in getting answers to. If this is going to be an issue, because I understand confidentiality when it comes to investigations, then I would say I can't answer that, and I think then we move on to another question.
Absolutely.
That would be quite simple.
Okay, let's move on to another question.
We don't want to give anything out that could make this worse. So,
Thank you, Mr. President. That's exactly where I was going. I don't think we should be, first of all, I agree with Darrell here that we should have had an executive session on this. We should not be discussing.
I asked for an executive session.
We should not be, well, I didn't know that. I'm not the president, but anyway.
Well, you
we
have
should.
an email, I sent it to everyone.
Look, I don't set the agenda, okay? You know that. So we shouldn't have had an executive session, so I agree with you on that. And we should not get any information, you should not give any information that will be detrimental to the city or to the public, in public, okay? So I agree with you on not giving the information that you should not give. I think my only other question is, has this happened before to any extent? Has this type of virus have happened any type like this before to any extent at all?
The name of this virus that we put out there, there's variants.
Well,
computers can spin these things up in minutes these days, and there's whole networks across our planet that spin these up in seconds and shoot them all over
And
the
you'll be
place.
able to contain it?
It's been contained.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. The other question is, if it goes out, or since we use the city computer, how do we know that we should not get it? Like sometimes they send a message, for example, or they say, contact peers. How do we know if it's that?
If you get a message from someone in the city that you don't know about, it comes from the city of Allentown, and it has an attachment, I would scrutinize it, as I said, and be cautious before opening it.
When you say scrutinize, usually people
Yeah.
open it. So are you saying we shouldn't open it, or?
Well, and maybe
Yeah,
something, if it's something
what
that you
we
get
do-
emails from every day, probably, but if, let's say, you get an email from some random staff in the city of Allentown, or you've never gotten an email from before, I would probably not open it. Right.
It's kind of, yeah. It's kind of hard because I don't know all the stuff in the city, obviously.
I understand.
But, I'm just trying to figure out like what should I open, what should I not, basically. Is there an easy way to answer that? without divulging anything that is confidential?
I'm going to say that part of our recovery phase of this is going to be so that you can trust what you've opened from this organization a lot more, than you can today.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, I don't think you were done there, but we don't want to divulge any information that's going to hinder this.
No, but that being said, I'm basically going to ask one final question, is what type of guarantee are we given by Microsoft for this contract?
Microsoft? Let me answer.
So, in terms, can you elaborate in terms of?
Meaning, what are we, other than, once you have done the work that you're doing, what type of guarantee do we have that the work is correct and that we're not going to see something like this again?
So, just to clarify, in the cyber and the security space, we never give any guarantees of anything, right? There's always, if there's an adversary out there that's looking to get your data and it's a targeted attack, unless you're an organization like, three-letter agencies that are protecting our national security, that even they can't even guarantee that there's no one out there that can get to their data. So from a guarantee standpoint, we can't really provide a guarantee, but what we can tell you is the proactive measures that we're going to put in place is going to basically allow the city to be in a place where, in order for something like this to happen again, the adversary has to be a very sophisticated adversary. A typical, what we call commodity malware, is not going to be able to cause the kind of havoc that it's causing today. So
I guess
we are going to put some of those measures in place.
The reason I asked that question is because the mayor stated that nothing we could have done, and if I'm not quoting correctly, Mayor, please correct me, would have prevented this. So my question is, we're spending a large sum of money, at least $185,000, if not more, and I'm trying to gather, other than just having our system reconstructed, what are we getting in terms of protection? If, as this is said, we could have protected against this before, and I'm curious, because this virus first showed up in 2014 and resurfaced, if I'm correct, in November of last year. So I'm curious as to, since we couldn't protect from it before, what type of, and obviously if you can't get into detail, that's fine, but how are you going to protect against it in the future if, according to what the mayor said, we couldn't have protected against this to begin with?
So, and I'm not going to get into the details of the architecture, but we are going to put an architecture that we recommend. And I can tell you right now, there's thousands of organizations that have not done these type of re-architectures in their network to be able to have this sort of resiliency. But that is something that we are, now that we are in this state, we need to be there, right? And that's something that we are working with, agencies in the DOD and some other places. It's not something that's common in city and municipalities. Right?
In your professional capacity, were we doing everything we could have done prior to this to prevent something like this from happening?
So based on what we have observed in terms of the tools that you have a lot of tools in place to be able to, protect. There are some architectures that we're going to change, but in terms of tooling, there may be some other tools that we're going to make some recommendations on that, for whatever reasons, maybe budgeting reasons primarily, are not there right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I think we forgot to do courtesy of the floor, but if it's all right with everybody, we'll just finish up with council on this, and then we can move back to courtesy of the floor. So, anybody else from council? We're good? Mr. Zuko.
Unfortunately, this happens every day across the country. We're not immune from anything in the city. I think that Matt's been here a long time. I'm very confident that him and his staff and Microsoft will get this resolved and we can move forward.
I would agree with you. They're doing a great job. They've been up working around the clock for the last week. I wanted to bring it to your attention because it is a very costly item. We've spent, like I said, $185,000 just to get them here to do triage. We're probably going to spend close to $1 million to actually get it fixed and put something into place so that this doesn't happen again.
Okay. All right, thank you. Guess we'll back it up. We'll do courtesy of the floor quickly we'll do courtesy of the floor if there's anybody who wants to be heard, and then we'll move on from there. Going once?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Louis Shue, 625 North 6th Street here in Allentown. I'm a computer security professional in my own right with almost 30 years of experience. A majority of that dealing with malicious software. If it's that bad that we're waiting a week now to hear it, I'm going to suggest that maybe you have what's called a rootkit involved in the infection. Rootkits are the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, during a cyber attack. If there's a rootkit involved, yeah, you're going to need Microsoft's help. But just in case, if you're interested, stand by to assist if necessary down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I just want to say that,
Your name, please.
I'm sorry,
For the record.
Robert Trotter, 1920 Whitehall Street, Allentown. On the mayor's watch, we've had over a $2.4 million overrun on Cedar Beach that cost. We've also had a $335,000 tax break, retroactive real estate tax break for J.B. Riley, which we have to pay. And now we have this. Under the mayor's watch, the money's going out, nothing's coming back, and these things just sort of happen. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, now
Mr. President,
I'm sorry,
I'd like to address council. And before I begin, I want to say that this is no reflection on Mr. Mueller or Mr. McCarthy. I know both of you, I've worked with you both, and again, I respect you totally. At this time, I want to make a motion. I move that resolution R7 2018 regarding the appointment of Daniel K. McCarthy as city solicitor be postponed until after a verdict has been reached in the pending federal trial of United States versus Edwin Pulowski.
Putting it on the table.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Zuckel. Guess we'll open it up for discussion on city council.
Mr. President. I understand Mr. Hendrick's concern. However, I think that members of this body, the public, and not least of which Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Mueller, deserve a fair and open hearing to have a say on what we think is appropriate, if we support or don't support each one of these nominations, and have a straight up or down vote. So I don't think that this is an appropriate way to deal with this situation, and I would ask all of my colleagues on council to not support this motion so that we can have the hearing and have a straight up or down vote so that we can clear this matter up and move forward, because no matter what's going on outside of this building, the city still needs to operate, and this is part of what we need to do as our stead in this operation. So I believe that we should hold this hearing and we should have a straight up or down vote for both nominees this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Haffel.
I agree with Councilman Robinson. We have two gentlemen here that are certainly qualified, in my estimation. I think I know the city, we're in turmoil right now, but I believe it's a good time to have someone, people that we trust, people that are good and they are qualified. And I think we should give them, I agree with Mr. Robinson, we should give them the time to speak, and I vote with Mr. Robinson.
Mr. President, I would say this. I was in the trial today. My understanding, according to the judges, this trial is probably going to terminate sometime early next week, possibility. And it's a very short period of time. We've gone extremely long as it is without a managing director, and we have sufficient guidance from the solicitor staff on board at this time. I see no reason why this should be moved forward at this time. There's only a short duration till this ends. And again, some of the things that came forward, I think, are a slight on this council, and to not, wait for that short period of time really makes no sense to me.
Mr. Green.
I agree with Mr. Hendricks on this. I have no qualms, no problems with either of the candidates. I think it's an inappropriate time to do it. I think we've been waiting for months and months and months. I think there's no reason to rush this. I think we can wait a week or a couple of weeks until this is over, and it'll be fair for the mayor, it'll be fair for whomever comes in if something happens. If the mayor is exonerated from everything that's going on, I'll be the first one to bring this back up and support. I think a couple of weeks is not going to make much of a difference. And like I said earlier, I support both candidates. I think it's the wrong time.
I'm also in agreement. I believe that they're both very qualified. I have hybrid cards for the both of them, but I think that we should wait.
Mr. President, in all due respect, we need a solicitor. We have pending legal matters that need to be addressed. Then we have city assistant solicitors, but we don't have somebody at the head giving them direction. We also need a managing director in light of everything I just talked about. And so I would ask that you vote, at least have a hearing, as Mr. Robinson says tonight. Whether you vote yea or nay, it's up to you, but at least give them a hearing tonight so we can have a vote on this. Plus, I don't know if it's obviously fair to them. I don't know if they'll stick around. I know Tom, needs a job at this point. I don't know if he'll wait for those weeks. And according to the way it's structured now, he doesn't get paid until you guys appoint. So I don't know if we'll have the quality of candidates in the future.
Mr. Zuckerman.
With all due respect to Mr. Mueller, I think he's a fine gentleman, but I think the proper way to go about this is not to present just one person. I think the proper way to do this would be to advertise, and if we wanted to apply, that would be more than fine, and give an equal opportunity to anyone that wants to apply for that position.
In all due respect, Councilman, this is a cabinet appointment. This is not an appointment that is for, let's say, a clerk. All right, this is a cabinet appointment. This is an appointment that actually comes, from the mayor's office. And so I think that Mr. Mueller is extremely qualified. He not only was a CEO at Bidding & Smith, I don't think you're going to find anybody more qualified than him at this particular point in time. He was the county executive. He worked with the administration in the transition over the course of the last several months. This is a highly qualified individual who I think we would be at a loss to just say no to.
Mr. President, I actually have one or two questions for our solicitor. First of all, since these are two separate resolutions, would we not have to vote on tabling each separately?
That's correct. They would have to be voted on separately.
So a separate motion for each one would be appropriate?
Yes, and the motion that was made, I believe, was just made to the first amendment.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. And the second one is, if I am correct, Mr. McCarthy can serve as the mayor's appointee for 60 days before he has to be confirmed by council. Is that correct or incorrect?
I think that the rule is actually set up that action has to be done within 60 days. So if council would take no action within 60 days, I believe he actually then becomes solicitor.
What I'm trying to gather is, because I know Mr. McCarthy has already started doing some of the duties. So my question is, if we just table this tonight, is he going to continue doing those duties as solicitor for X number of days?
He would be qualified under the applicable Allentown laws to do that, yes.
Okay, thank you. And that, Mr. President, is why I think that we need to have a straight up or down vote on this, because if there is an issue where this body or members of the public feel that that appointment is not appropriate, we should take a vote on that this evening. And I think at the very least, even if we would table these, I think that we should hear from both candidates, and I think that we should hear from the public about their qualifications. And if council chooses to table those resolutions after we hear those things, then so be it. But I think we deserve to hear from them and hear from the public.
Well, and I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I've heard the argument about we need to wait till after the trial. Did the citizens and the taxpayers of Allentown expect us to wait till after the trial is over? No, they expect us to act. We need to do something. This government still needs to function. The tax bills, I'm sure, were sent out, and I don't think anybody got a reduced tax bill because there's no managing director or no city solicitor in place. So I too know both of these gentlemen, and I too have very high regard for both of them. And I'm a little disappointed that we have to go through this, but I think Mr. Robinson is correct. We need to go through the process, and
I would ask that my motion be voted on at this time. I'm somewhat insulted, first of all, that the mayor has done this, and they've both started working already, before even being approved by us. And we're talking about a mayor right now in the middle of a federal trial, a trial which is about to end soon. And I think this reflects very poorly on his respect for this body.
Mr. Hendricks, we've all had our disagreements with the mayor. I have over many years, but we've agreed on things too. And I think we need to look past that disagreement with the mayor, and we need to look at the taxpayers, what needs to be done for the city. And that's,
I agree, we've gone without both positions for a period of time. A couple more weeks would not make much of a difference.
Well, then why don't we just eliminate them from the budget? Why don't we just get a motion on the floor to eliminate them from the budget? Why do we need them then? Why are we gonna feel them in a couple weeks?
That's not what my point is here.
Well,
If I could just interject in this. Mr. Hendricks, I understand your concern. What I was trying to get at, though, is if you feel that the position, either position should not have someone in it at the time being, if we don't vote on this tonight, Mr. McCarthy's going to continue as solicitor. So he will be, in effect, in that position. So that's why I'm saying I think that we should have comment from the public and a straight up or down vote on them. And I would also say, just ask our solicitor, before we would vote on this, we do need to take comment from the public on the motion, correct?
And all I'm asking is for a postponement of that until such time as the trial ends.
Oh, no, I understand, sir, but what I'm saying is, he will continue to do the job. So we are in effect giving him the job by not voting tonight.
I agree. I'm sorry, that's okay with me. I don't have any problem with either of them.
But if, Mr. Greedy, if you're supporting tabling because you don't think we should take action on this, we are taking action on it by not taking action.
It's a different issue, Mr. Robinson, okay?
Well, I disagree with you respectfully, Councilman.
That's okay. You're allowed to do that.
I'd like to say something. I understand Mr. Hendricks, but you keep saying in a few weeks. What is a few weeks of it? The way I look at it is there are two men that are qualified, two positions that have to be filled. Whether this mayor or another mayor puts them up, we all agree we like these two men, and I don't understand what 2 weeks is going to do. In 2 weeks we come back and we vote for them. So it doesn't make any sense to me why we have to wait 2 weeks till after the trial. When it's not the mayor that's it's the people, the two guys that are sitting there that are very qualified that I want to vote for, that I would like to see in office. Do you know what I'm saying? And I believe most of my colleagues feel the same way. And this is just waiting for another 2 weeks, and I don't understand the purpose. That's all.
Well, you made my very argument. I say, why not wait for 2 weeks? There was no reason for these to be brought forth at this time.
Because we need them.
I disagree.